Hi, and welcome to Talks with Shay. So today I would like to begin with reading from Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 6. And it says, "But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him." And so today, for part 5 of Big Heart, I would like to talk to you about rewards. So, welcome. Today we have with us Miss Brooke Taylor, and we're talking about Big Heart for the month of March. And who more than to welcome on today to be with us but Brooke Taylor, who's a foster parent. So, we're going to hear her story today. So, what would you say, prompted you to become a foster parent?
Um, it's nothing I ever envisioned that I would want to do. Like, I didn't wake up one day and say, "Oh, I think I want to foster." Years of infertility, years of prayer, and I finally opened my heart to what God was telling me to do.
Wow. Okay. So, how long have you been like a foster parent?
6 years.
6
over
years?
6 years.
Okay.
Yes.
What would you say is like your biggest challenge with becoming a foster parent?
There's so many. I think it's just a day-to-day struggle. Every case is different. Every I don't know, it's daily struggles, but you learn how to deal with it. And of course, you cannot do foster care without faith.
Right?
Or you never make it. Well,
Yeah.
I would never make it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So when I think about fostering, I'm sure many people think about fostering, right? I mean, I have, I go back and forth with it a lot. And because I can't solely make my mind up to do it, I'm like, I don't want to commit to something that I can't give my 100% in, right? And so like when you think of finally doing it, what was it that said, okay, it's time? Was it a certain situation that took place in your life? Were you at a certain place in your life?
I said, years of infertility. That was a big struggle. That will always be like the toughest pill I've had to swallow in life. I finally opened my heart to foster care. And so I called just to see what the initial process was. You go to an orientation, you take the classes, and then you continue to get certified. Our first class, we went and we were excited. And as it goes along, I remember we had 2 more classes, I think. And after like that 4th or 5th class, we went home and we're laying in bed. And my husband and I both looked at each other and said, "Are we ready for this?" Like it was, reality was hitting. And we both looked at each other and we said, we don't know. We weren't sure what the future would hold. But I told him, I said, "We've come this far. We're going to finish it out. We're going to give it a try." And so we were very scared. We were very nervous. We didn't know what to expect. But like I said, I feel God opened my heart to this. So I was going in 100%.
Right.
And it was overwhelming at first. It really was.
Yeah.
But it's the best thing I've ever done.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
Cry.
It's okay. I cry on
I'm
Talk Show
sorry.
sometimes. It's an emotional moment because even that's a big life transition, right?
It was.
Yeah.
Because my husband and I were married at the time for 11 years.
Wow.
So it was 11 years just the 2 of us.
Wow.
And then we go from 2. Our very first placement was a sibling group of 3.
Woo!
We went from a family of 2 to a family of 5.
In one day.
In a weekend.
In a weekend. Wow. So how long did that placement last for you guys?
They were with us for 7.5 months.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And within those 7.5 months, like I said, I was going in full force.
Right.
We added a 6th member to our family along the way.
Wow, that's commendable. Because that's a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
But my heart was full.
Right. That's beautiful. So I can relate to you because I can't have kids, and I think sometimes that's why I kind of wondered if I wanted to maybe foster to be able to adopt. But then I was like, well, now I'm 46 and I'm like, I'm not starting over. Like, and I'm single. Don't have a husband yet. He's somewhere around here.
He's somewhere. Give it time. It's God's time.
Yeah, it is, truly. And so I just think like how hard and how much dedication it takes. Have y'all ever adopted any kids yet?
We actually have. Okay. We've adopted 2 girls.
Okay.
And I won't lie, there were days where I would cry and say, I know I'm doing God's work, but I didn't know if I would get my reward out of it.
Oh.
But I did.
Amen. That's beautiful.
I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize, girl. Look, I'm the most transparent.
It's emotional.
It is. That is emotional because you went in blinded in a sense, yes, not knowing what to expect, and then it's like now you have 2 precious babies, yes, that God gave you. That, I remember my first lady is adopted, and I remember my pastor saying one time in service, we don't choose our parents, right? Biological parents.
Right.
But being adopted, you're chosen. And so you and your husband had to make a choice to choose these 2 to adopt them. And then you chose them to be part of your family. It's a beautiful thing. And I think in the long run, it's going to help them to recognize that I was chosen. Even though my biological parents maybe didn't do what they needed to do, but somebody chose me. You know what I mean? And so when I think about that, I'm like, that is so weird because it's so true. It really is true. And they may have people listening in that go back and forth with wanting to foster, and what's something like that advice that you would give someone that's kind of unsure? Should I foster? Should I not foster?
If you're unsure, why not do what we did? Mm-hmm. Why not take the classes? Why not get certified and try it? Mm-hmm. I'm going to say it's not for everyone.
Right.
A lot of people do it and they'll say, okay, it's not for me. And that's fine because it's not for everyone.
Right.
We've learned that. It's not for everyone. And I think one thing a lot of people think is they go in with the mentality of, I'm going to go into foster care so I can adopt kids. Mm-hmm. When we really need to be more aware of, I need to go into foster care to help a family be reunited.
I like that.
Because I was one... Like I said, infertility was real. I prayed and I hoped one day I would get to adopt kids. But when you get to watch reunification, mm-hmm, there's something about that. It's a beauty you will never see, like anything else.
That's awesome. And you could tell like your heart's in it. Just the way your tone, you're getting emotional. You feel it. You feel it, And so reunification, for people that may not know, that's when the foster kids are in the home, the foster home, and they're returned back to their biological family, or sometimes even relatives, right? But it can rip your heart out because sometimes you can have that child in your home for such a long period of time.
You will get attached.
Yes.
You will form those bonds.
Right.
You will grieve their loss.
Right.
But at the end of the day, to know you were a part of that family's story, to give them their happily ever after.
That's beautiful.
It's a reward.
Yeah. And that's beautiful because even, because everybody don't fit. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like, well, this wasn't God's will for me. I remember when I was in my ambassador role and supporting foster parents and stuff, there were times where foster parents was like, after this, I'm done, and they would try and they would try and they try. And I remember telling one lady, I said, there's seasons sometimes, mm-hmm, and so it's so important to understand your season with a particular child, because if that season is up, and it's hard to not attach to a child, right? Correct. You're raising that child. You're like mama, to that child, and then to have them taken away, it's beautiful to see the parents get their lives together to get their kids back. But then at the same sense, it still affects you.
Yes.
You're human. You know, and you grow a bond with these children and things like that. So with you guys adopted 2 girls. Mm-hmm. But you still foster?
Yes.
Okay, so do you have any foster kids in your home at this time?
We currently do. We have another little girl.
Another little girl.
My husband has been outnumbered for quite a few years now.
Hey, that's okay. We rule.
That's
Girls
right.
rule the world.
Girls rule.
Well, that's beautiful. So if is there any takeaway that you would tell anybody today in reference to your story or anything that you would just want to share with the viewers today?
You mentioned that sometimes it gets overwhelming and it gets frustrated. Like I said, I've been doing this for over 6 years now. And there's days I've quit in my head like 5,000 times a day. Mm-hmm. Like I was done. I wasn't doing it anymore. My home development worker first told me when we first started, and this always kind of just stuck. Mm-hmm. You'll have bad days. Sleep on it before you call me. Sleep on it, pray on it, and if you still feel the same way, call me the next day.
That's good advice.
So, like I said, there's days I said I was done 5,000 times a day, but I would sleep on it, I would pray on it, and I never made that call the next day.
That's beautiful. I think that's just good life advice, right?
Right.
Because when we make decisions, like the worst time to make decisions is when we're all over the place in our emotions. Yes. But if you sleep on it, like you say, pray on it, and you have a clearer thought process the next morning or something like that, and it helps to make better decisions and wiser decisions, right? Well, good. I think that's some just good advice for foster parents and
one
anybody.
More thing,
oh, go ahead. I have time, girl.
I have people who call every so often and they're like, hey, we have a few questions about foster care. Mm-hmm. And I don't sugarcoat it. If you want honest, true advice, I'll tell you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Right.
But I always do tell them when you start your journey, start it with God and just keep Him there the entire journey.
Amen.
Because if He's not there with you, it's not going to work out.
Yeah. I like that.
So.
And even I remember somebody I know went through a hard time and they kept calling them, wanting them to get a child, and they kept saying no, and then they finally, because they kept calling, they finally said yes. And it turned out to be very devastating for them, you know. And so that's the important part of paying attention, keeping God in the front of it.
Yes.
You know, because everybody, like we said a few minutes ago, doesn't fit your family. And so you have to make sure that you're praying about it, feeling peace about it. And if not, pay attention to those little nugs that God give you.
Yes.
You know, I like that. Well, Brooke, you have anything else you want to share with the viewers today?
Yeah. One more.
Oh, I don't mind, girl. Go ahead.
One more. Another thing that I say with every one of my cases, I know how I would want the case to turn out. Mm-hmm. But my plan is not God's plan. Mm-hmm. So for every case you're going to get, just remember, God has a plan for this child. It might not be your plan, but you need to accept God's plan for this child.
All right now. Ooh, accept it. Life advice as well. You know, we have to accept God's plan. I love it. Well, Brooke, we thank you for joining us today, taking time out of your busy schedule. And we appreciate you for sharing your story today with us on Talks with Shay.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So before I go, I just want to remind you, if you haven't already, check out my website at www.talkswithshay.org. You can subscribe to my videos on YouTube and find me on Facebook. Like my page, share my page, invite your friends to like my page. And until next Friday with Talks with Shay, Shay is out. Y'all stay blessed.